Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? This is Kazi from cleverprogrammer.com. Welcome back to another episode with writing your first Django app part 4, following the official Django documentation. So let's continue and kick ass. All right, so we're continuing the web poll application and we'll focus on simple form processing and cutting down our code. So the big things we're going to be doing is how do you add a form where you can submit information to. So basically it's going to be a form. It's going to have radio buttons. You're going to pick your choice. You're going to click on it, and then you're going to be able to send that data over. That's number one big thing we're going to be doing. The second big thing we're going to be doing is cutting down our code using something called Django's generic views. They are super, super powerful, and it makes your code a lot more readable, and it stops you from doing the same thing over and over again. Okay, so it makes things a lot simpler for you. It does have a little bit of magic involved, but hey, that's what I'm here for, and I'm going to break it down. So let's jump right into it. All right, so writing a simple form. I'm going to copy this guy, and then I'm going to break it down to you. You, my friend, should not be copying. You're learning this stuff. You should be writing this down line by line and going, how does this work? Ah, that's how it works. Oh, and then you should be Googling it and looking it up, okay? For me, I know how this works. I don't want to waste my time. I'm going to copy paste it and then break it down for you. Capiche? Let's get going. All right, so let's pop open our Atom, and we will go into our detail.html, and we're going to put this over that, okay? So what is going on? At a higher level, we have our heading 1. So this is what the specific question is, okay? So what's up, what's cracking, what's popping, things like that, all right? Here, this line is saying, hey man, look, if there are any error messages, I just want you to freaking show them. That's all. And this guy over here is just a form where you actually submit and vote, okay? At a high level, that's all that's happening, okay? Now, getting down more into the code level, this is pretty self-explanatory. It's just H1 tags. It's just HTML. Here is a little bit of Django going on. So here we're saying if there is an error message, then show it. Okay, and show it covered in strong tags so it looks nice. And then here's where we're creating a form. So we start the form tag here and end the form tag here. The action is to go to this specific URL, so trigger this URL. So basically, action means what the heck happens when you submit a form, right? What's an example of a form? Almost every website has it, okay? So you going on Instagram and logging in, you are submitting a form. You logging in on YouTube, you logging in on Facebook, you are submitting a form. You posting a status, hitting post, you are submitting a form, okay? So that's essentially what's going on. So what we can say here for action, once you submit a form, what should happen, okay? One thing you could do here is just type in facebook.com. So once you submit this form, it just takes you to facebook.com. Okay, you can certainly do that. Except in our application, what you want to do is once somebody submits a form, you want to send them over to some other part of your app with that information, with that data. For example, if somebody adds shoes to their cart, it then takes them to the new page with the information where they previously added shoes to their cart and then shows the shoes and the shirt and the tie on the proceed to checkout page. Okay, that's essentially how you use forms in real life. Okay, so here we have it to, hey, take me to the vote view, okay, or the vote function in our views file. Cool. CSRF token. So there's something called cross-site. I forget what it fully stands for. Let's take a look at it. They mention it, cross-site request forgeries. Okay, so it's a security mechanism, and all you have to do is really, you don't have to worry about it too much. All you have to do is just add that token. Okay, so actually, that's it. That token doesn't even need an end. That's it. This is just a line that you add usually when you're adding Django forms, unless you're using something like Crispy Forms, which is, again, outside the scope of this tutorial. So that's what this line is. Here we're doing a simple for loop. Okay, the for loop goes through all the question choices. And what are question choices? Well, remember so you have question, and then one question can have multiple answers to it. Those answers are the things that get voted on. So what we're doing now is listing out all of those answers or those choices. And I'll show you right now how it'll actually look, okay? So let's go ahead and check out what this looks like. So now we're going to go over to our app, and let's say I click on what's cracking, and you can see it says what's cracking followed by vote right underneath it, okay? Let's go to what's up. What's up has two choices. Remember, I had not much and the sky. Those are two possible answers. Kind of funny. I don't know which one I like more. But yeah, you could vote on one, and then you could certainly hit vote. Okay, yours is not going to look as big as mine. That's because I have it zoomed in, so you could see on my 5K iMac Retina screen. And you can pick whichever one you want. That's it. And then you hit vote. Boom. Okay, you're voting on question one. It will redirect you to that. Cool. So that was that. The radio buttons are coming from these lines, okay? How's this working? Input type radio. When you do this, then it creates those radio buttons on the side, okay? For ID, something you don't have to worry about too much, but for ID, we're just using the built-in Django templating systems for loop.counter. So it'll give the ID 1, 2, 3, 4 as it's looping through. And yeah, value is just the choice.id, and name, we're just calling it choice. Name is very important. Once you get this on the server side, the backend, you could reference this post data using that particular name. Okay, so you're going to be able to do something like request.post bracket choice. Okay, and then label for, that's just for labeling purposes. Again, not incredibly important to what we're doing. And then we end the loop right over here, and then right over here, we're saying this form is basically what we're saying is like put that submit button and then just call it vote. Okay, so that's why you see, if I called it something else and saved it and refreshed, now it calls it that. So here we're saying call it vote, and then for type we're going to say it's a submit button. So the type, we're just going to give it submit. So once you hit it, it sends that information over to the next page. Cool, let's go back to our tutorial. All right, so that's pretty much what it's going to explain to us, but let's just see and make sure we're not missing anything. Right, so the value of each radio button is associated question choices ID. The name of each radio button is choice. Yep. That means when somebody selects one of the radio buttons and submit the form, it'll send the post data choice, where number is the ID of the selected choice. This is the basic component of HTML forms, okay? We set the form's action to that particular URL, and we said method is equal to post. So here's another important thing to note. This is pretty important. Whenever you're generally submitting data or filling out a form and sending it over, you want to use post request because it's safer and it's better. You don't want to be using get requests when you're sending data over because it's insecure and you could get screwed. Okay, so simply put, as opposed to get, it's very important because the act of submitting this form will alter data server side. Whenever you create a form that alters their data server side, use method post. This tip isn't specific to Django, it's just good web development practice. For loop.counter indicates how many times the for tag has gone through its loops. Okay, I've explained this already. Since we're creating a post form, we need to worry about cross-site request forgeries, and I've already gone over this as well. Okay, and that's why we're using CSRF token. All right, now let's create a Django view that handles the submitted data and does something with it. Or remember, in tutorial 3, we created a Url Conte that includes this line. So we already have this line. We don't have to add it. So if I go to my urls.py, you'll see for votes, I have this line right over here, and so should you. All right. Now let's add now that we're going to create a real version for our vote. So up until now, we had functionality for our vote, but it was just dummy placeholder, didn't really do anything, okay? So now we're going to actually add real functionality. What are the few things we need that we don't have? Let's see. We'll need HTTP response redirect because we don't have that. So we're going to put that in. All right, we're going to save. What else do we need? We need from Django.urls import reverse. So we're going to add that in and hit save. And then that's essentially, and then except we're going to have choice right here. Save. Cool. Okay, now we're going to go in our vote and we need to add all of this code. Okay, and I'll break it down for you right about now. Okay, so what's going on here? Question. We get that particular question, or we throw a 404 error. We then get the answers for that particular question, okay, or select a choice. One specific choice, that's what we get, okay? So for example, whether the choice is going to be the sky or whether the choice is going to be something else, right? It's not going to show it to me right now because the app is offline right now, the server is closed. But since we had two choices and you could vote for this choice or this choice, how are you going to know which one is sent, right? So that's what we're trying to pick here. Whichever choice you select the radio button next to, that's whose primary key we're going to be passing in. And how we get that is request.post choice. Request.post is just a dictionary, and you could pull out the key choice from that, okay? Just to have it make sense, let's run this code. So what is it saying? The problem is right here. All right, we're going to run this code. Cannot import name reverse HTTP 404. Let's see where that error is coming from. Aha. Right there, reverse, okay? And you could still have HTTP 404, not a problem. All right, so let's go back to our app. Let's go to what's up. And also let's go back to this, save it, come back, let's refresh. So it should say vote here. Now when I hit the sky, we're going to see what happens. So I'm going to hit inspect here. And our console pops up, right? We're going to go to sources. Console is looking pretty insane right now, but that's fine. I'm going to click on network. And we're going to click vote. So we just voted for the sky. Okay. Now in our network, let's see if we can zoom out a little bit because it's a little too crazy. All right, so in our network, we can see that the request method is post, right? And we can actually check out the response. And in this case, it says the response failed. Let's click here. Right now, when I click results, because it was sent to results, it says you're looking at the results of question 1, right? So there is a response. And now if I look in the headers, it tells me the request method right now is get, and it tells me kind of all the things that go along with it, right? So let's try it out again. Let's pick another question, not much, and vote. Let's see what happens. So 302 found, right? Okay. So let's go here, preview response, failed to load response data. If I go in results, it's showing me you're looking at the results of question number 1. Okay, so pretty much it says the same thing and it's giving my statuses. What do these mean? We're going to break it down a little bit later, okay? So let's go back to our tutorial and go down, index.html. Okay, so this is looking good. Our views, it's looking fine. Cool. Now, so basically we're selecting the specific choice from here, whatever we send over in our request, and then we throw an we throw an exception here, okay, and we also check for if like the choice does not exist, or if there's a key error. And in the case that the choice does not exist, we return polls/detail.html. We render that, and we return that question object. And for our error message, we say that you didn't select a choice. Okay, so if you somehow selected, nothing. And otherwise, if we have selected it and we haven't ran into this issue, what we want to say is for that particular choice, we want to upvote it by 1. So we're incrementing the vote count by 1. We want to save it, and then we redirect, okay? So we're going to go into more depth of that, but let's just check this part out one more time. Refresh. Let's hit inspect. Let's go to network. Let's select the sky. Let's click vote. So you can see, okay, so that's exactly what I needed here. It's a little hard to see though. So you can see when I scroll all the way down that it actually pulls out the form data, and it's telling me that the choice I selected was the second choice, right? That's the important part. And it also has a CSRF middleware token, which, remember, we did CSRF_token. That's where it's generating that from. But the choice is the most important one. So whether it was choice 1 or choice 2, and we're picking this based on the choice ID, okay? So that's essentially what's happening. Now, if I go back and I pick not much and I vote, and when I go back up to vote and I go all the way down, you'll see that it's showing me choice 1, right? So that's the thing that we're actually pulling out. So this will essentially turn to a 1 or a 2. That's what I was trying to get at earlier, but it was just my screen was too big, so it was hard for me to show it. But that's what gets selected here. And once this evaluates to something like a 1 or something like a 2, this whole thing evaluates to that specific question object. And then we upvote it, and then we save it, and then we redirect, okay? The reason why so when you're done with all of this, you don't want to say, hey, go back to the home page, or you don't want to just say like render the home page, because if the user refreshes, it'll keep submitting that data over and over again. So like imagine, right, if you were about to pay for your credit card and you buy like whatever, right, you buy shoes or you buy grocery. If you refresh, like something happens during half of it, then it gets submitted, but then you go back and you refresh or you resubmit, it shouldn't let you resubmit and pay again, right? Every time you refresh, and then all of a sudden you're charged like $300. Or what if you were on an online trading app and you just put down like $3,000 for Bitcoin, and then you refresh or you go back and forward a page and it resubmits $3,000 and $3,000 again? You're going to run out of money pretty fast, right? $9,000 like that. So it's a pretty serious issue. So what you want to do instead is redirect. This prevents data from being posted twice if a user hits the back button, okay? There's a better way to do redirect, which I think they'll show us later, but it's essentially, I think from shortcuts, you can pull out redirect and just call redirect, and it's much simpler. But they do it this way: HTTP response, redirect, reverse, and then take me to the results view, right? So it takes you back to this results view, and for argument, it just passes in the question ID. Cool. So that's looking good. Now let's play around with it and let's just check out what happens. So I've already voted for like 1 or 2 questions multiple times. Let's see what's going on our database. So I'm going to go in Python manage.py shell. So what we're going to do is from polls.models, I'm going to import choice. And I'm also going to do from polls.models import question. Question.objects.get. Let's say we want to get our first question, our what's up question. And we're going to save this question as like Q or something. And now what I'll do is I'll do q.choice_set.all. Now it'll show me all the choices or answers for it. And then I'll pull out the sky one. And then for the sky one, we can see its vote count. In models, I forget what is it, vote or is it votes? So you can see that it has 2 votes. And then the other one, third one also has 2 votes, so it's a tie. Okay, so both have 2 votes. So you see that what we're doing on our front end and we're voting, it's actually being counted here. Okay, usually where it says choice underscore set, that's kind of weird. So how you want to say it is like q.choices. And again, like I've mentioned in our at the end of our first video, like if you want to change that, I'm not going to change it now just to stay consistent with Django's official docs. But essentially, like right in here, right in the top, we can actually write something called related underscore name, and then fix this issue like right there. Call it something like related underscore name, and give it choices. Okay, something like that. But we're not going to do it right now. We're going to stick to what Django is doing, because otherwise I'll have to make migrations and things like that. Everything is fine for now. I'm going to exit out of this, and I will just do Python manage.py run server and just go back to using our regular app. Cool. All right, so now let's see what they want us to do. So that's all good. That's working. All right, let's see what they're saying here. Request.post is a dictionary-like object that lets you access submitted data by key name. Yep. So that's how we use the choice key name. Request.post values are always strings. Cool. Note that Django also provides request.get. That's by default. That's there. But we're explicitly using request.post in our code to ensure that data is only altered via post call. It will raise a key error if choice wasn't provided in post data. The above code checks for key error right over here and redisplays the question form with an error message if choice isn't given. After incrementing the choice count, the code returns an HTTP response redirect rather than a normal redirect. This redirect takes a single argument, the URL to which the user will be redirected. See the following point for how we construct the URL in this case. And you should always return an HTTP response redirect after successfully dealing with post. Okay. We're using reverse function constructor. This function helps avoid having to hardcode a URL in the view function. It is given the name of the view that we want to pass control to and the variable portion of the URL pattern that points to that view. Cool. So right here. Now, after somebody votes in a question, the vote view redirects to the results page for the question. Let's write that view. So now it should point us back to the results, and we're going to write it, okay? So here is what it should be looking like. Let's check our results. Let's pop that bad boy. Oops, let's pop that boy right in here. And we just say get that particular question, or otherwise throw a 404. And once you get it, take me to... And once you get that question, take me to results.html. So you can already see there's some similarities, right? Like here, there's a similarity, and here there's a similarity. Both of these have to do with getting that one particular question. So think of it like you're getting the detail view for both of them. But in one, you're sending me to detail.html, and the other one, you're sending me to results.html, okay? And we're going to kind of address this issue of like our code being a little bit repeated. This is almost exactly the same as the detail view from tutorial 3. The only difference is the template name. We'll fix this redundancy later, so they mentioned that. Now let's create a 'poll/results.html. So we're going to go in and create new file. I'm going to call it results.html, just like that. I'll paste it here, and we'll go to our app, and we'll vote for the sky, and then it'll take us to the results of what's up. And look at that. Not much. It says 2 votes, and the sky 3 votes. Vote again, and then it takes me back to the vote, and I'll vote for not much. All right, so it's coming out pretty cool so far. All right, this is exciting, guys. This is exciting. So now, what is this code saying? Let's read our code that we've just added. Header, unordered list, unordered list. The loop is saying go through all of the choices or all of the answers. I don't know why they call it choice. I just think it's a bad name. And get that choice text. Put 2 dashes in between it. So for example, this whole thing would turn into like the sky or not much, followed by the number of votes, followed by it saying vote, choice.votes, pluralize, right? So what this is doing is it's either going to put an S here or a not. So for example, let's go here. So if you only had 1 vote, this would turn into nothing. And if you had multiple votes, it would turn into, it would put a S here. Okay, so it's a pretty cool way of pluralizing something. But you're doing choice.votes. So this will evaluate to like, let's say 3. And then you're piping it over to pluralize, and then pluralize will be like, hey, yes, you should pluralize it, and put an S here, and then I'll put like an S like that. Okay, cool. With that said, that ends the for loop. So you're doing not too much here. And then what you say is like, hey, you want to vote again, and how you're doing that is you're just providing a link to the text, vote again, and it'll essentially take you to the detailed view of that particular question. Okay, so if I hit vote again, it takes me to the detailed view of that question. What's up? Not much. Vote, it takes me to the results view. If I hit vote again, it takes me to the detailed view. Click it, takes me to the results view. So this app is starting to have some functionality again. So again, that's pretty cool. Let's go here. Let's check out now. Go to poll/1 in your browser and vote in the question. We did. It gets updated each time you vote. If you submit the form without having chosen a choice, you should see the error message. Okay, so let's see if we can try to do that. Let's hit vote, and it says you didn't select a choice. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. Note, the code for our vote view does have a small problem. It first gets the selected choice object from the database, then computes the new value of votes, and then it saves it back to the database. If 2 users of your website try to vote at exactly the same time, this might go wrong. The same value, let's say 42, will be retrieved for votes. Then, for both users, the new value of 43 is computed and saved, but 44 would be the next expected value. This is called a race condition. If you're interested, you can read Avoiding Race Conditions Using F to learn how you can solve this issue. Okay, that's a little bit advanced. It would have to be literally at the same like fraction of a second. Could it happen? Yes. If you're trying to scale your app to a lot of users, yes. Should you worry about it right now? Hell no. So let's continue. All right. So remember what I mentioned in our views, some of the code is looking similar. Like here, these are detailed views, right? They're showing the specific question and they need one specific question. Looks a little redundant, right? And then we're using also a specific question like allowing us to vote here. But there's a little bit of redundancy going on. So how can we address this? How can we manage this in a better way? Well, luckily for you, Django has something called generic views. These are class-based views that essentially have you, once you use them, you don't even have to write that much real code. It just does a lot of the things automatically in a pretty intelligent way. So I like this, and check it out. All right, the detail and results views are very simple, as mentioned above, but they're redundant, okay? The index view, which displays a list of polls, is similar. These views represent a common case of basic web development. Getting data from the database according to a parameter passed in the URL, loading a template, and returning the rendered template. So we pass stuff and we get it from the URL, and then we load up a template and we return the rendered template. That's essentially what we have been doing. And when I say return the rendered template, another way to say it is returning that HTML file you're looking for, right? Or that page on the front end that you see. Because this is so common, Django provides a shortcut called generic views system. Generic views abstract common patterns to the point where you don't even need to write Python code to write an app. You could literally be sleeping and the app just writes itself. Let's convert our poll app to use the generic view system. So we can delete a bunch of our own code. We'll just have to take a few steps to make the conversion. We will, 1, convert the URL conf, delete some of the old unneeded views, and introduce new views based on generic Django views. All right. Read on for details. Okay, so why the code shuffle? What they're basically saying is, hey, you should know basic math before you start using a calculator. So why did we do this up until this point only to now refactor our code? Will we have to refactor our code all the time? No, you will not. Next time when you're doing your app, you already know how class-based views work. You'll start from more generic class-based views. So basically what they're saying is like, hey, look, we don't want to just give you the calculator before you even can do basic 2 plus 2. Or in my case, in one of my videos, I think I had to do 2,000 divided by 10 on a calculator. That was a pretty sad moment. And that has a lot of upvotes. Makes me sad to this day. I wish my editor took it out. Oh well. You don't always get what you want in life. But Django generic views comes pretty close. So let's keep going. All right, amend URL conf. First, open the poll/urls.py, URL and conf, then change it like so. So we're going to go in poll/urls.py, and I'm just going to paste it over this bad boy and explain what the heck we just changed, right? So besides the fact that we took out some notes, what else just changed? So let me take this out so you can kind of see it side by side and really see what changed. So if you look at this index thing, all it changed, before it was just .index, now it's index view.as view, detail view as view, results view.as view, and those are the middle arguments that change, right? What are the other arguments that change? Everything after the name, all the name keyword arguments remained the same. But there was something else that changed. So here it says question_ID everywhere. But in the new one, it says PK everywhere, if you notice. Right? So that's another big change to keep in the back of your forehead. All right. That's what they mention over here. Cool. So that's essentially what we're going to be focusing on here. So here we still have question ID, okay? Now when we're using these generic views, they take things in as PK, and they'll explain that later. Now we need to make changes to our views. We're going to remove our old index, detail, and results views and use Django's generic views instead. To do so, open and change it like so. So we definitely need this generic thing. So we're gonna go to our views. And here we're going to do from Django.views import generic. All right, so we got that. Other things that we need. Now we need to make a class here. So I'm going to completely remove this guy and add a little class here. How will this work? It'll automatically know which template to use based on this variable. These variables are not just random. You can't just call it this. It will not work. These variables have to have this specific name for them to work. Okay, this is something important for you to remember. Django does have a bit of magic, but once you learn how it works, it'll be really, really helpful, okay? So template_name, you have to use this variable. We assign it to the index.html. For a context object name, we say latest question list. And for a query set, we're just returning the last 5 published options, okay? So this, we're saying only be referenced if somebody says this. So when somebody says this, you can get me that. Okay. Let's go in our class detail view. So for our detail, all we need to write is, instead of doing this get object 404, passing the question, passing the primary key, all that stuff, and saying render request followed by the context dictionary and all that, it's pretty simple. How is it working? Well, it's actually pretty cool. Okay, so let's go back to our URLs, and since we're passing PK right in here, it already has it. You don't even have to pass it as an argument or anything. Which model? Again, these variable names matter. We're telling it use the question model, so it's directly communicating with this model right over here. Template name, we just give it the template name, and that's it. It knows what to do. Okay, pretty beautiful. Now let's do the same thing for our results view. So it's going to change from this obfuscated looking code to something pretty simple. Check it out. Clean, right? Looks a lot cleaner. No need for request and question ID. No need for get object or 404. No need for passing in question or primary key. No need for saying render request and passing in a context dictionary. It just does it all automatically. And then vote, we're going to keep it the same. Okay, we're going to hit save. Now we're using 2 generic views here, list view and detail view, respectively. Those 2 views abstract the concept of display a list of objects. That's one concept. So list view is going to do that. And then the other concept is display a detail page for a particular type of object. So are you looking at the home page of Instagram, or are you clicking into one particular post and looking at its detail? Each generic view needs to know what model it will be acting upon. This is providing using the model attribute, which is this. The detail view, generic view, expects a primary key value captured from the URL to be called PK. That's why here it has to be called PK. So we have changed question underscore ID to PK for the generic views, but not for the non-generic view. By default, the detail generic view uses a template called app name / model name underscore detail.html. In our case, it would use the template, the following template, right? So if I go in my views, so app name, our app name is polls / results.html. So / the model name.html, okay? In our case, we just called it results.html. The template name attribute is used to tell Django to use a specific template name instead of the auto-generated default template name. We also specify the template name for the results list view. This makes sure that the results view and the detail view have a different appearance when rendered, even though they're both a detail view behind the scenes. So they're both a generic detail view. Okay. Similarly, the list view generic view uses a default template called, similar to the other one, we use template name to tell list view to use our existing one. So by using template name right over here, we're telling it which one to use specifically. In previous parts of the tutorial, the templates have been provided with a context that contains the question and latest question list context variables. For detail view, the question variable is provided automatically. So the question variable is provided automatically instead of us even having to pass it in as a context dictionary, because generic views are smart. Since we're using a Django model, our model is called question, Django is able to determine an appropriate name for the context variable. That's why it would pull out question. This would be the variable name that you can use automatically on your front end in your templates. However, for list view, the automatically generated context variable is question underscore list. So if it's a list of things, right, like the list of choices or those answers, it would call them question underscore list. To override this, we provide the context underscore object underscore name attribute. So we override it and we give it our own name. If we didn't give it our own name, we'd have to access it using question underscore list. But by giving it our own name, now we can access it on our template side as latest question list. Okay, specifying that we want to use latest question list instead. As an alternative approach, you could change your templates to match the new default context variables, but it's a lot easier to just tell Django to use the variable that you want. Run the server and your new polling app based on generic views. So let's actually give it a try. My server is indeed running. I'm going to refresh. I'll take a vote and it voted correctly. I'll vote for the sky and it looks like it votes correctly. I will go to the polls like home page, just polls, and it shows me all the detail views for all of them, right? What's new. And when I go on what's up, not only does it show me the detail view, but it also shows me the choices that go along with it. So working in a fantastic way. All right, so that's it for Django tutorial part 5. I hope that you found it informative. I hope that you found it fascinating and awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying this so far. We do have a new course coming up called The Profitable Programmer. So if you're serious about your web development, you want to take it to the next level, you want to become badass at Django, you want to learn how to get clients, you want to learn how to become a freelance web developer in less than 90 days. You want to create apps and do all these things, right? You want to deep dive? Perfect. This is the course for you. Go to this link, okay? Put in your email, join the VIP waitlist. It's absolutely free. I'll let you download your Python earning potential calculator for absolutely free as my gift to you. And then when this course opens up, you will be the first to know about it, okay? That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I love your faces off, and I'll see you in the next video. Whoosh.